This is the truth of the case.
It all began when Yuri started saying all that weird stuff about wanting to die for a single woman. He knew we were all growing desperate, so he offered any girl the chance to kill him and escape. Unfortunately, his words caught the attention of this case's culprit. If Yuri had been killed, everyone would suspect a woman of being the culprit. The culprit used this to their advantage in the murder. However, Yuri had locked himself away and only answered to women. Setsuka decided she wanted to host a surprise party to get everyone to cheer up. Our culprit saw this party as a critical part of their plan. After getting himself involved with the party setup, he was able to convince everyone to invite Yuri. While preparing the party, our culprit took the opportunity to swap some of the drinks with alcohol. This was to make sure people would get drunk. It wasn't long after the party started when Yuri, a man who was fond of alcohol, had become completely intoxicated. Both our culprit and the victim drank late into the night until they had to return to the monocruise. Once the party reached its end, our culprit helped Yuri and slipped away from the others. As a result, both the culprit and the victim were left all alone at night outside the monocruise. Once separated, the culprit took our victim directly to the bell tower. Since this all took place at night, there were no witnesses or interruptions that could affect them. Yuri was already passed out from being drunk, but to be extra sure, our culprit used a syringe to inject him with an anesthetic solution that would keep him out for a long time. Since our culprit had plenty of time until morning, he took some time to practice his method. It was during this practice that they made sure all of their measurements were perfect. Once the culprit was satisfied with their preparations, they had to wait outside until morning. Once the morning announcement went off, our culprit was going to enter the monocruise. However, as soon as the doors opened, Yodako stepped out of the monocruise. If she had gone to the bell tower, this whole case would have been ruined for the culprit. The culprit had no choice but to inject her with the remaining anesthetic and moved her to the bell tower. Although the decision was made in the moment, it actually ended up driving suspicion away from them. During this time, the culprit had become late to their morning jog with Shinji, so they had to hurry. So, they removed the hook from Yuri's right calf while moving Yodako. Going both up and down the stairs would take too much time, so they decided to use the hook as a means of transportation. With Yodako in tow, the culprit rushed to the top of the bell tower. With the hook detached, our culprit quickly jumped off the tower using their fulcrum method. Normally, they would injure themselves without the weight of Yuri and the wires to slow them down, but they decided to take a risk and put their faith into their fitness and health. Luckily for our culprit, his talent was perfect for something like this. The culprit, who had shortened his travel time, joined with Shinji in the monocruise. During the jog, our culprit made an excuse to depart from Shinji for a moment. Returning to the bell tower, the culprit rearranged the hook placement. They couldn't reuse the right calf, as it had been completely torn up, so they inserted it into the left calf. This is the reason he had wounds on both of his calves. Once everything was ready, the culprit used Yuri's e-handbook Plus to send a distress message to Yuki. As Yuki received the distress message, our culprit quickly made their way up to the bell tower. Once the culprit heard that we had arrived and Yuri had woken up, the culprit jumped off the bell tower once again, this time with the intention of murder. Yuri, who was connected to the life jacket via the hooks, was sent flying into the air. As Yuri flew up, he was cut by several sharp wires that had been set up by the culprit. The culprit, now safely on the ground, cut the rope, and Yuri was sent falling downwards to finish him off. Since there was nothing to slow his fall, it was without a doubt the true cause of death. Yuri, who we had just witnessed alive a moment earlier, was now a bloody mess on the ground. This is the truth of Yuri's death as Yuki and I had witnessed it. Once we saw the gruesome sight, we decided to rush up the stairs, hoping to find the culprit at the top. While we rushed to the top, the culprit disposed of the life jacket and was hurried towards the monocruise. Doing so would give them an alibi when the body discovery announcement went off. Fortunately for them and their fitness, they were able to make it back in time for the announcement. Right after the body discovery announcement, the culprit made their way to the bell tower with everyone else. In doing so, they reacted innocently with everyone else and pretended to be shocked by the event. However, this was all an act. In truth, they had been the one to kill Yuri. That culprit is without a doubt. You, Hajime Makinoshi, the ultimate boxer!